Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. The news of the day is serious. We're talking about the Supreme Court decision, the affirmative action that has so far hit schools. Of course, the military got protected. You know, we're going to educate everybody to go into the foxhole. But anyhow, in discussing this morning at KPFT, we had a lot of ideas, honest discussion about this. And then I heard from my good friend, our former host of the show now on hiatus, the Tim Danahey show, and former board of director of Coffee Party. I just wanted him to have a point of view here, which I kind of like. So anyhow, welcome to Politics Done Right once again. Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Always good to join you and exchange ideas with you, Egberto. It's a better place, I assume, and I'm sure that I'm a better man after talking with you.
Well, we always have good, frank discussions on these issues. As you know, the Supreme Court pretty much got affirmative action at universities, public and private, with the last decisions. And, first of all, what's your thoughts on what occurred?
You have to look at the context. And I am, I always say, a tactical progressive. And, I'm a white guy. Certainly didn't suffer in my upbringing. But as progressive as I am, you kind of look at affirmative action as, you can look at it as a necessary evil, or you can actually look at it as necessary to prevent evil. You like to think in terms of we're all equal. But, as I mentioned with the small animal farm, some people are more equal than others. And that's the need for affirmative action or the intent. But the Supreme Court has essentially said constitutionally, we are all equal. And that has a theoretical, we are all equal. But in practice, it's not the reality of this whole thing. And so it provoked me to thinking, they've taken away affirmative action. But I'm looking at this, Egberto, as saying, okay, I'm okay with the theory, but what do we do now for the various injustices and inequalities which still occur? We can't be affirmative. But, I offered to you this morning, and you've had an excellent conversation this morning, and based on your comments now, then I can offer what I think that Biden and other progressives can do.
Well, and it was intriguing. I mean, you first of all, you accept the notion that, in fact, in as much as we preach equality, we don't, or equality, equity, we don't really have it. And since the Supreme Court have removed the policies that can affirm what needs to be done, I like the way you presented. Now, what are the options? You can't fight it from the side of affirmation. So let's fight it from this side. Go ahead.
Well, let me just kind of approach it how I would do it if I were Biden on this. And I would say, okay, Supreme Courts have said we're all supposed to be treated equal. And yes, we're American. And we are all equal, and they've taken away affirmative action from us. And so, if I were Biden, I'd say, well, I'm going to make sure that we are all equal, and I'm going to increase enforcement of equal employment opportunity violations. Blacks, LGBTQ, race, whatever. We're all equal. Okay, we're equal. I'm going to make sure that we all have equal access to voting. I'm going to make sure that we all have access to real estate. No more red line. We're going to step up enforcement of that. You want equal Supreme Court? I'm going to make sure that all financial applications are equal. In fact, if I were Biden, I'd say we're going to make it so equal that we're not only going to do it on income, we're going to do it on asset evaluation and offer incentives that way, because we know the minorities on an asset basis on an income basis, they're disadvantaged. But on an asset basis. And you want equal? Fine. We'll do everything on the basis of equal race, equal rights. We're all Americans. But whenever we do incentives, it's going to be economic based. And I acknowledge that much of it is going to go to minorities based on our, and let's do this economically and come through the back door to help disadvantaged people without calling them out by race. And so you want equality, Supreme Court? You're going to get it because I'm going to enforce inequality. And that's the way I would approach it, Egberto, as a way to deal with an unfortunate Supreme Court decision.
Let me tell you something. I want to make one corollary to what you said, because I want the audience to actually get where your heart really is. You're saying, Supreme Court, you want equal? Well, this is what we're going to do. Reality is, the Supreme Court has asserted, just like Ketanji Jackson said, they have pretty much asserted that equality occurs. I don't remember the word that she used. So since you have asserted that reality, you're saying, Tim Danahey, that you're going to ensure that the Supreme Court's assertion of that reality is in fact real. And now you are, what you are proposing is pretty much telling America, okay, we are really going to hit equality from the bull's horn. I tell you something, Tim, believe it or not, after we got off the phone this morning and I started thinking about what you said you're a tactical progressive. The reality is that is progressive. I want to get off the race subject for a bit to tell you why I think so much of that, of what you're saying, actually going aggressively on these issues. In America, when we have high inflation that we know is real, most of it really caused by the corporate sector, corporate greed, etc. And the way the government has chosen to solve it is not to tell corporations to behave themselves, but to penalize people on the back end or to tell people on the back end, if you pay higher interest rates, the corporations are going to be forced to do X, Y, Z. Affirmative actions affirm that corporations have to do a certain set of things to effect a certain outcome. You're saying, okay, since Supreme Court, you are saying that a certain outcome, in your opinion, by fiat is there. No, okay, you're the law of the land. We are the ones who execute it. We are going to make sure to execute that reality that you've said. I think if you take a look at that and analyze it from a progressive point of view, Tim, that probably gets results even faster.
I think so. And then you mentioned the corporate profits, which in anticipation of another Supreme ruling that also addresses issues of equality, the forgiveness of student loans. And I'm going to speak as your advocate. And you just say, well, people willingly went into these loans to finance education. We kind of say, well, maybe we shouldn't forgive them. And bear me out on this one, because what I'm telling you right now is appalling. And so, but let's tie the two together. Okay, the Federal Reserve can give financing at 0.25%, 0.25%. Let us forgive it. Well, I am going to, if I were like, say, we are going to make these no interest loans or do the same equal financing that we give the big banks. You want equal? Can't forgive? Well, we can support this. They'll still have to pay it back, but at least it's not subject that banks are doing to students and student loans. We should all be invested in supporting education in the States. And if people want to get a $70,000 school to study Greek archaeology, God bless them. They can take out the loan. It should be zero or near zero, and they can deal with the financial implications of paying it back. We should not allow people to unduly profit off of these decisions. That is anti-education, and you never know what we're going to learn. the artificial and Greek archaeology or whatever. Artificial intelligence just decoded Phoenician tablets, and we find out that the Phoenicians knew trigonometry 2,500 years before the Greeks did, or 1,500 years before the Greeks. There's a value in that. But here we are making judgments on it. Go for that education, let's support it, but let's not profit off it. And so that is equal. You want equal, you don't want affirmative action? Well, no more affirmative action for banks then. Let's make it equal. Banks are people, we're all people. And let's give them equal would be the way that I would approach it if I were Biden and the administration. And I think it would be hard for Republicans, again, tactically, to dispute that. Well, wait a minute, we don't want that equal. It would be hard to. It would be a winning fight because I think it would appeal to the inherent fairness of most American people.
Tim Danahey, a good friend of mine, a guy with a point of view, former director of the Coffee Party USA. Thank you for your commentary. I really wanted to get your point of view. You know how much respect I have for you.
Always an honor to be on your show. Thank you, Egberto.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.